Hi class, this is Dita. We're starting to get into the research design and we're starting to think of exploratory, descriptive, evaluative, these different kinds of designs of research that we're going to do. Some of two of the most popular research designs are going to be personal interviews and surveys. Okay. And depending upon how you set up those personal interviews and those surveys, is gonna make a difference in terms of how hard you work in this class. And so in personal interviews or in surveys with open-ended questions, the question becomes, how are you going to analyze those open-ended questions? So if you ended up asking a question around, well, what have your marketing strategies been for the last 2 years here at this organization? And that one question, how I just asked that, needs to be asked in the same words to the same people for across the board for your survey or for your personal interviews. So what has been your marketing strategies for the last 24 months? If you ask 10 people that same question, you're going to get 10 different answers. And now how are you going to make that, how are you going to actually measure that? How are you going to be able to quantifiably measure the answers to that? And so when it comes to personal interviews and open-ended questions in a survey, you're going to need to go to this video right here, okay, this analyzing open-ended questions, and watch it, because that's what you're going to have to do in order to put this into a scientific format to be able to answer the questions specifically. What's the answer to those questions? So if you're going to have personal interviews or open-ended questions, it's mandatory that you watch that video, and that is going to be your process to analyzing those questions and to be able to figure out how to make sense of those answers. A couple of other things that you need to pay attention to is that you have to ensure that you capture the answers correctly without bias. Now, if you're sitting there in front of somebody and you're actually taking notes, you're very much at risk of paraphrasing what they're saying, because you're trying to keep up with what they're saying, and you're very much at risk of missing comments while you're writing. And so it's mandatory that you're going to need to actually tape record that conversation so you don't miss anything. Also, you have to ask the exact same question of each interviewee. You also need to ask the same question. All questions need to be the same. You can't modify them in any way, and you can't add or subtract. So it can't be conversational. You can't ask a follow-up question to somebody. And so that may put you at risk, because here you have this once in a lifetime opportunity to talk to this person, and you have another question that comes to your mind that you didn't have in your mind when you were designing the questions, and you want to ask that. Well, you can't. You have to stay to the original design when it involves human subjects, and this is the law. Okay, so and then also, to analyze this, it's just time consuming to do it in this kind of way. If you have multiple choice, yes, no questions, Google Forms can absolutely, as soon as people respond to those, let's say, for example, you put a 10 question survey together or even a 20 question survey together, and it's all multiple choice and yes and no, and you put it up on the social media networks, Facebook, LinkedIn, people answer that. You do a drawing for 25 bucks at Starbucks to incentivize people to do it, and you get 50 responses back, and those 50 responses you can actually Google will actually turn them into pie charts and bar charts for you, and there's no additional work for you to do. So I have a couple of other videos for you to kind of take a look at. So if you want to make this easy on yourself and come up with some good information, use multiple choice or yes no questions, and your analysis section of this paper will be super easy. If you're somebody that, hey, this is my real deal, I want to ask open-ended questions, just know that you're going to have to do some extra work for analyzing those open-ended questions. All right, I hope that helps. When we start doing this research design, it's probably going to be tweaked a little bit the more we get into the data collection part of this, once you understand what that entails. But I'm giving you kind of fast forward on this to kind of show you what's involved when we actually get to the collection part, and that may alter your design a little bit in terms of what you really want to do. All right, hope it helps. See ya. Bye.